But I actually hate talking about trading, because when you talk about trading, it sounds like you're selling a dream. But it's 1 a.m. right now, and I was sat on my balcony thinking and reflecting about how far trading has actually taken me, how far in my journey I've come as a trader, and just purely how far trading has changed my life. Now, yes, when you see these people online talk about trading, it sounds like they're selling a dream, but in reality, I don't want to be one of those guys, and I'm not selling a dream to you. I'm not going to be one of those people who talks to you about how trading can make you rich in a couple of months, because the reality is it can't. And that's actually the premise of this video, because recently I've been seeing a lot of things online, and I've been seeing a lot of things within my community of people who maybe come in and they think trading is a certain thing when it's actually not. And I wanted to make a video about how much work trading actually takes and how tough trading can be. And I think the best way for me to genuinely do that is to share a few struggles, share my journey, and talk about the process that I've been through, because that way you can relate to it, but you can also see a realistic journey of exactly what it takes to be a professional trader, what it takes to go from being broke, being in debt, being in a place where you don't want to be, to going to changing your entire life and making consistent income and actually giving yourself true freedom. Now, in this video, I was going to talk to you about how hard you need to work and how you need to put time into the charts and everything you need to do. But before I even go into anywhere near that, I want to talk to you about one of the big things recently in my trading that's really shook me up and really essentially was a big struggle for me, which I've now overcome and now gone past. And I've spoken about this before, this specific event before. I've spoken to you about when I lost all of my funding 6 months ago. And when I told you about it on the previous video, I spoke to you about what you need to do to overcome losses, the way you need to react to it. But I didn't actually go deep enough into how that made me feel and the hole I fell into after it. And I feel like that's something you need to hear. And this might be a tough video for me to make, but again, me and you are having a conversation right now, bro to bro. And I don't ever want to lie to you guys. So we're going to talk about this, and we're going to talk about how you can actually become profitable, become a consistently profitable trader, and the work that is required and the things you need to do, the pitfalls you need to avoid, and everything like that. So 6 months ago, roughly, I lost all of my funding. I was a $750,000 funded trader, and I was actually around $25,000 up on those accounts. And within a week, they were all gone, completely gone. And I went from being very close to one of the biggest payouts of my career to having absolutely nothing. And that was a massive shakeup for me. That was honestly one of the biggest failures in my trading career. And I realized only recently that the reason why that was not because of the market, was not because I left an order open on the charts, and that is what happened, but the underlying reason behind that was actually me. I wasn't locked in, I wasn't focused enough on trading, I was spinning too many plates, and that resulted in me ending up exactly where I told you, losing all my funding, losing the payout, and essentially going into a little bit of a downward spiral. Now, nothing happened that's too crazy. All I lost was the funding, and I didn't actually end up losing anything on my live account because I knew when to call it quits. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is, trading is such a difficult game. You need to be so locked in to be the master of this. And if you're someone who thinks that you can haphazardly, half-heartedly approach this game and pull up to the charts for 2 hours a day and make money, I'm here to tell you that that is purely not the case. Now, bro, me and you are brothers at this point. We are talking as if we've already made it, and we're talking heart to heart here. And I want to be truthfully honest with you and talk to you about everything that happened to me, because it was honestly just a life-changing thing. Now, I was not locked in enough. I'm the first one to admit that. And you need to be completely locked in to be a trader as well. Realistically, I want you to right now think to yourself and check in with yourself and say, deep within your own heart, are you doing enough work? Are you giving yourself the best opportunity for success? Are you working hard enough towards this? Because let me put it into perspective for you. Ever since I became a wannabe trader, before I was profitable, ever since I became a aspiring trader, let's call it, it has been the only thing I've thought about. For the last 4 or 5 years, the only thing that has been on my mind has been trading. When I wake up, the first thing I've done for the past 4 years is check the charts. Even to this day, it's the first thing I do. When I'm talking to my boys, the first thing I talk about is the market. Even if they don't want to hear about it, and most of them probably don't, it's all I can think about, all I want to talk about. I'm not interested in anything else. And in fact, some of my boys the other day said to me, bro, you're not present when we have conversations. When we have conversations outside of money or the markets, you're not present. And that just goes to show you the level of locked in that you need to be to perform at the top of this game. You need to be so committed that you're willing to die for it. And realistically, brother, I don't think you're doing enough work. The likelihood is you're not doing enough work. You're not spending enough hours dedicated to this game. You're not spending enough time thinking about it, enough time perfecting your craft. Now, what does perfecting your craft actually look like? Because is being locked in as a trader spending 8 hours on the charts every day? No, of course it's not. And I'm not going to tell you that that is the way that you're going to become profitable, because in fact, that's the opposite. There gets a point where you're spending too much time on the charts. And I've told you this before, but there's also the alternative. The alternative is that you're not spending enough time focused. You're not spending enough time looking at the markets, analyzing. And you need to give absolutely everything to your trading. When you are on the charts, you need to be locked in. I don't want to see you listening to music and trading, or watching video games trading, or being on your phone scrolling whilst you're waiting for candle closures. That is not going to work. You need to be able to master your mind enough to be able to give yourself the best chance of success. And the best chance of success is watching every single closure, watching every single tick on price, being able to sit there disciplined like a monk and stare at the screen, even if you know maybe there's not going to be a setup, or maybe you're not going to get a position today. And you need to be willing to go ahead and actually sit there on the charts and spend 3-4 hours sitting there and then walk away when no setup prints. Because a lot of people aren't willing to do that. A lot of people are not willing to put the time in onto the charts and then not get a trade. They'll get to the end of the session, 3-4 hours, they haven't got a position, and their brain will subconsciously force a trade to make them think that the effort they put in or the time they put in was not a waste and it was not essentially pointless. But in reality, those days where you spend 3-4 hours on the charts and you actually go ahead and don't get a position, those are the days that build your character as a trader. They build your discipline, they build your patience, and these are the characteristics we need to become profitable traders. These are the characteristics that are going to allow us to achieve the level of mechanical execution that a trader requires. And it's not going to happen in a few months. It purely won't happen. I'm not being funny, but the traders that you hear about that are making crazy money within a couple of months trading, especially if they're social media traders, most likely are lying. Now, obviously there are outliers, and obviously you can fast track the process, but for everyone it's going to take a different amount of time, and you cannot expect it to be faster than getting a uni degree or learning any different skill, because realistically, trading is one of the hardest skills in the game. You're willing to go to university for 3-4 years to get a job that maybe will make you 80k, but you're not willing to spend 3-4 years being unprofitable and doing the right things every single day for a job that can earn you unlimited money. Think about that for a second. Replay what I just said and run that through in your mind. You are not willing to spend a couple of years for a job that could literally give you unlimited income, unlimited freedom, but you'll happily go to university and do the exact same thing for a smaller paycheck. Make that make sense? Now, one of the things that I was thinking about recently was a comment that I had on one of my posts. Now, someone commented a very nice comment, and it was so true that I just have to tell you about it. Now, the person said that the people that tell you that gurus are scams, courses are scams, traders is a scam, everyone that tells you that trading is a scam are the people who are not willing to put in the work. They're not willing to put in the discipline, the patience, the hours required, and to make themselves feel better. Instead of actually going ahead and doing that work and actually achieving the thing that they know is going to actually play out in the long run, they just vilify it. They say that it doesn't work. They say it's a scam to make themselves feel better so that they don't have to put in the work, and they can mentally cope with the fact that they're not good enough or disciplined enough to do that. And I want you to actually understand what I just said there. Think about it over and over again. Replay that, because at the end of the day, this is completely true, and it's true with other things in life. Think about all of the body positivity movement and all of these sort of things that you see in mainstream life outside of trading. The body positivity movement is purely a scam or mental cope from people who are not willing to put in the work in the gym, on the treadmill, dieting. So because they're not willing to put in the work, they don't want to feel shit about themselves. So instead of saying, oh, I'm just not good enough, they vilify being in a healthy physique. They vilify being a normal weight, eating clean, and say it's an eating disorder, because that way their brain is able to cope with it. The same applies to trading. The people who are not willing to put in the work to actually develop this skill, consistently make money, consistently turn up to the charts every single day, even when they're losing money, when it's tough going, they are just going to reframe it. So the most important thing you take out of this conversation is do not listen to the people who tell you that this doesn't work, because I'm proof of it. I'm literally living proof that this works. In fact, forget me. Think about all of the people who I've taught to trade, who have succeeded because of videos they've watched of me or videos they've watched of even other people. In fact, my bro in there has been trading for 6 months under me, learning from me. And he's now 250K funded because he put in the work, the time, the effort. In fact, I'm going to tell you a story that I didn't think I'd tell you. When my boy in there first approached me about trading, he was asking me all these questions. And then only a couple of months ago, he actually said to me, bro, I'm not going to lie, when you first spoke to me about trading, I thought it was a scam. I thought you were just selling courses, but now I've seen it every single day. And I know what you do, and I know how much of a freak you are on the charts, and I know that you can actually make money in this. And the moment he realized that, it was actually possible by shadowing me, seeing me actually do it, he was able to progress and actually achieve it because his brain had unlocked the willpower and the manifestation that actually trading is physically possible. And the moment he figured out it was possible, he's now 250K funded. So you need to try as hard as you possibly can to figure out a way to realize that trading is possible, because it is. And until your brain realizes that, in the back of your mind, you're subconsciously going to think, no, it's a scam. These guys must be lying to me, or they got lucky, or maybe they're not telling the truth, or whatever it may be. And in the subconscious of your brain, it's not going to allow you to put your full effort and time into the charts. Because realistically, you need to put effort and time into the charts. You need to go ahead and actually spend countless hours. I don't think you understand the amount of work that goes into this. I don't think that you understand the amount of work I've put into trading. Everything you see on camera, on my YouTube videos, on my Instagram, on my YouTube live streams, is a small portion of the work I put in. Even now to this day, when I'm making consistent 5-figure months from trading, I'm spending so much time analyzing the charts, so much time developing my strategy, working on new concepts, talking to people about specific trading strategies, etc. I spend more time trading and working on trading than you do, and you're not profitable. How does that make any sense? I'm making consistent 5-figure months from trading, and I'm spending more time working on my craft than you. You should be outworking me 10x, because you don't have what I have yet, but you want it. So why the hell does it make sense that I'm doing more work than you? That makes absolutely zero sense. Now, going back to what I told you at the start of this video, when I lost those Apex accounts, what was happening within my trading to actually make that happen? Well, I left an order open on the charts, I've told you this, and I came back overnight, not really realizing I was in a trade, and I was down 10K. And that was so mentally heartbreaking for me. It was honestly such a difficult thing to get over, but after reflection, it's entirely my fault. You have to take personal accountability of that. It was entirely my fault because I was not locked in enough. I think I was running out to go and do something with my girl, or to go and work on a video or something else, but that shows just there that I wasn't locked in enough to check my charts before I left, to check my execution platform, and to actually see if I had an order open. So how can you actually lock in on trading? How can you put in the time and work logistically to become a profitable trader? What does that look like? Well, for me, it would look like this. And when I was starting to learn, it looked exactly like this. If you're not profitable yet, you have to put every single hour of your time that's physically possible into learning. When you get off work, when you get off school, when you finish from the gym, you should be straight onto whatever resource you are using to learn. You should be straight onto the charts, straight onto YouTube learning strategy, straight onto the course you're watching, whatever it may be, talking to your mentor if you have a one-on-one mentorship, and trying to extract as much value until you know the strategy hand in hand, until you know it literally like the back of your hand. And once you know the strategy like the back of your hand, you have to move on to phase 2 of the learning journey. And this is the implementation process. And this is simply going to be spending as much time on the charts as physically possible. Now, I'm not talking about as much time trading, but you have to sit there and watch the price move. Start to understand the patterns of the market, when the volume comes in, logistically, when is price moving, how is it moving, where does it sweep liquidity? All of these sort of things are stuff that you can learn just by sitting there and absorbing knowledge and actually being focused and paying attention enough to actually realize and absorb these patterns. So you spend as much time as physically possible doing that. Let's say you're trading a demo account or a small live account or even a prop firm account. You take your trade for the day and you're done. After that trade for the day, you can take a break off and then get back onto the charts and start learning more concepts or back testing or implementing your strategy. After that is done, the next step is simple. You need to review your trades. So many people think about the forward aspect of trading. They think about forward testing, the market open tomorrow, doing their analysis in the morning, taking the position, and then thinking of the next day's trades. But so many people forget to go ahead and review their data. Now, you can journal as much as you want, but if you're not going back and actually reviewing your data, spending the hours to go through and looking at each trade you've taken, if it's a win, breaking down why it was a win. If it's a loss, what was the loss for? Did you make a mistake on the charts? Did you miss something? Was there resting liquidity somewhere else? Or was there a level that you didn't realize? And if there wasn't, then you need to understand why maybe this happened, what the market did instead. Did it need to come down and grab extra liquidity? Or maybe you were just unlucky. Sometimes we lose, but you need to actually go ahead and spend the time to figure that out. And once you've done that, that is your entire day. But that is taking maybe 10 hours a day. And if you think you don't have enough time for it, I'm sorry, you're absolutely mistaken. So many people come to me and they say, bro, I'm too busy with school and uni and revision or a 9 to 5 and the gym and family to lock in on trading. Well, let me tell you about my routine when I was learning to trade. 3 years ago, when I was learning to trade, I was working at a law firm. I was working at a law firm billing 60 hours a week. So I was spending 60 hours on client work a week. So I'd spend my day from 8 o'clock pretty much to 6, 7 o'clock at night at work. After work, I would literally go straight from my work to gym. I'd bring a bag with me and bring my gym stuff straight to the gym, get a workout in as quick as physically possible. After that, I'd get home, eat food. If not, I would try and get something super quick and be straight onto the charts, learning, back testing, forward testing, reading my data, or just learning more concepts. As well as that, at the exact same time, I was in a full-time uni course. Whilst I was working at the law firm, I was literally in a full-time course doing my master's because I wanted an extra degree to get to an extra level of promotion. How funny is that nowadays, eh? But the point is, I had a full-time job, had a full-time uni course. I was hitting the gym 6 days a week. I was cooking my own food, living alone, and doing all of these extra things on top of learning to trade 3-4 hours a day, trying to trade the markets in my lunch break or when I'd go to the toilets at work, and trying to have a social life. Can you think about how many hours that takes? And you say that you're too busy with your uni or your school or your 9 to 5. Be realistic with yourself. Think about how much time you actually waste on stupid bullshit things. Netflix, Instagram, scrolling through TikTok. You spend so much time doing pointless, meaningless things that you're wasting time that could be changing your life. You understand this? Not many people read this deep into it, but when you are literally scrolling or watching Instagram or playing Xbox, that is literally directly eating into time that could be used to actually change your life. You're literally spending the equivalent of money in time that you can't afford to spend because you're not where you want to be yet. How insane does that sound? So next time you pick up the phone to scroll, next time you pick up the Xbox controller or the Netflix remote when you get home, think about the fact that you have a limited amount of time. It's a finite resource, and you're wasting it on things that are not developing you as a person. And if you're sat somewhere where you don't want to be in life, how can you afford to go ahead and do that? That makes absolutely no sense. Alright, we're still on. And I guess the point I'm trying to make here is, trading requires more work than anything else. It is the most competitive industry on the planet. Trading is literally the most competitive industry. Now, let me give you an example. Let's reflect on my previous week. Now, this week, I've been so locked in. This month, I've been locked in. In fact, the year I've been locked in, but especially this last week. Me and Tom would wake up every single day. We would trade London session, maybe get something to eat after London session. Then I would jump on stream for New York session. After that, we'd go straight to the gym, train for an hour and a bit, get showered, get home, straight back on the charts, looking at our data, trying to learn extra concepts. I would maybe teach him a few concepts. Then we'd be making content. I'm making videos like this for you. He's trying to develop his personal brand. We would spend literally hours and hours in the evening working on stuff after trading. We'd spend the whole day trading. Apart from the gym, the whole day trading, even eating while sat on the charts. And then after that, I promise you, this is no word of a lie, the last week I have not gone to bed before 6 a.m. in the morning, and I've been up at 10 every single day to stream. Think about that. Have you been putting the same amount of hours in? Why am I outworking you? Why am I outworking you? I'm in the position that you want to be in. Yet I'm literally going to bed at 6 a.m. every morning, waking up at 10, whilst you're sat there watching Netflix complaining about how you don't have time because you have a 9-to-5 job. Come on, bro. You can't be serious with that one, honestly. It makes absolutely no sense. If I'm in the position that you want to be in, why the hell am I outworking you? But look, don't be too hard on yourself. I know I'm just trying to give you a reality check here, but realistically, you know we're boys, and I'm only doing it because I love you and I want the best for you. I truly want to see you succeed. To the bottom of my heart, I want to see as many of you guys succeed as possible. In fact, if you guys know me, if you're an OG TRLS follower, you'll know about the notebook where I wrote my goals down, and I achieved those goals last year. I have a little leather notebook where every year I write down my goals. And in this year's notebook, I wrote, I want to make 100 people profitable. And I think we've overshot that already, but the point is, even when I'm not making content, even when I'm not talking to you directly on stream or on Instagram or whatever it may be, I'm still thinking about you, because deep down in my heart, I want to see you succeed. And that's why I have the programs I have. That's why I offer such value for free first, and then also on a one-on-one basis. You think I need to spend all these hours donating time to people one-on-one to help them become profitable? Of course I don't. But the point is, I genuinely want to see you succeed more than absolutely anything. And I guess this is a good time to mention that if you're watching this video before the October 1st, I'm running a live masterclass October the 1st to go ahead and teach as many people to become profitable as possible. And it's going to be a 2-hour masterclass completely packed with value. I'm going to be releasing every single strategy-based thing I have, including the method that allowed me to get to $800,000 in funding. Yes, I forgot to mention that. $800,000 in funding after losing all my funded a couple of months ago, but we'll get to that in a second. If you do want to join the masterclass, there's very limited numbers, and it might even be sold out by the time of this video, but if it's not, go to my Instagram account @trendlines and DM me the word live, and I'll talk to you about the program, talk to you about the mentorship. You can do the application or the masterclass, and see if you are a good fit. But that brings me on to my point that I just made. At the start of the video, I told you about how I lost $700,000 in funding a couple of months ago and how hard that was for me and how emotionally heartbreaking it was. A couple of months later, fast forward, I'm telling you about how locked in I've been the past few months. This week I hit $800,000 in funding again. So I've overshot where I was previously. And as well as that, I have $200,000 of funding, which is literally half a trade away from passing. So realistically, if everything goes well, next week I'll be at $1 million funding after losing $700,000 in funding a couple of months before. So that just goes to show you that even though I was heartbroken by this loss, and to me it was one of the biggest losses of my trading career when I lost that funding, every single setback is just another higher low for you to go ahead and continue and become a better trader. I went from $700,000 in funding to zero, back up to now $1 million. How crazy is that? That is pure market structure, higher lows being made on my personal chart, and you have the exact same. You make some progress, you take a couple of steps back, maybe you take a few losses, and they build character for you as a trader in order to go ahead and become better down the line. So every time you take a loss or something happens that you think is a negative thing within your trading, I promise you, it's a blessing from God to go ahead and actually continue further and become a better person and a better trader. And I think that's a good place to leave this video, because the message I just told you was so powerful, so unbelievably powerful. And like I said, brother, I truly want to see you succeed. Deep down in my heart, I want to see you win. And I know you will win if you keep putting in the time and the effort and working hard and staying locked in. It will happen for you, I promise. And look, just remember, if you do the work and you do the right things, God will reward you for that. Remember to keep God on your side, stay locked in. And if you do the right things and you're a good person deep down in your heart, and you show God how hard you're willing to work, but also how grateful you are for what he has already blessed you with, there is a 0% chance he doesn't bless you with more. So look, I love you very much. If you want to join the Masterclass on October 1st, go to my Instagram, DM me the word live. Otherwise, drop a like on this video, subscribe, because I'm going to be dropping a few more of these live videos whenever I get the inspiration. Like I said, these videos are made, right now it's 2 a.m, probably after I finish recording this. And they're made when I get the inspiration. I can't just crank them out, because we have a genuine connection in these, and there's always a genuine topic that comes across my mind that I want to talk to you about. So look, bro, have a great evening. The market opens tomorrow morning for Monday. Lock in, stay focused, and achieve your dreams. See you later.